BRICS is the most organized global manifestation. And that's why it's important to take note of the annual meeting they just had in Rio and the fact that they are bigger than they have ever been before, that they're doing more trade with one another than they ever did before, that they're borrowing money and making investments in one another more than they ever did before. And all of that is happening outside of and out from under the control, the domination of the United States.
You can almost feel the ground shifting here. That Rio summit wasn't just another photo op, it welcomed heavyweight newcomers. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, even Mexico showed up as an official observer. That's a signal. The bloc is no longer a side conversation. It's becoming the conversation. And the fact that they're transacting more in their own currencies and rolling out BRICS Pay as an alternative to SWIFT means Washington's ability to squeeze with sanctions is getting a little duller every quarter. Now, none of this overturns the order overnight, but it does tell us the old rules-based system is quietly being rewritten in the margins.
What the BRICS is about is creating within the world economy a new and different part of it. And that part is the part not subject to the United States' direct or indirect economic, political, and military power. Do they escape from that 100%? No. The United States remains a global force. I mean, there are three major wars in the world today: Ukraine, Gaza, and Iran, and the United States is a central player in every one of them.
That global reach comes with a price tag and growing fatigue. From Kabul to Kiev, voters at home are asking what the return is. Meanwhile, BRICS members are watching and concluding, if U.S. power is stretched this thin, we can negotiate a little harder on trade, a little freer on currency. That recalculation is what gives BRICS momentum.
And before that, we had Afghanistan and Iraq and Vietnam, and I could go on. So the world is not free of the United States and will not be for quite some time. But the relative position of the United States is shrinking. And it has been for 50 years. Only it's going faster now because the institutions are being formed and developed and nurtured as we speak. It is no longer appropriate to talk about the United States being challenged by the economic powerhouse that China has become. That's still true, but it isn't the main story. The BRICS are the main story. China is the key part of that, no question. But the BRICS are much bigger than just China.
Exactly. Since the 2024 enlargement, you've got energy giants like Saudi and the UAE sitting at the same table as commodity powerhouses Brazil and Russia. That cluster now controls roughly 40% of global oil output and a quarter of world trade flows, leverage no single member ever had alone.
And they are the new phenomena of the world economy and need to be understood in that way. They are quite different one from the other. They have clashes in their cultures, their religions, their political ambitions, their military capabilities. They have arguments. They will have more of them. They don't all look at the Israeli activity in Gaza in quite the same way, and so on. But whatever those differences, they are carving out a space in the world economy that is a new option for everyone. And I mean everyone, every company working internationally, every business, and every country is rethinking strategy. How do we grow this business? How do we diversify the people we borrow from, the people we sell to, the alliances we as a country make. All of those fundamental decisions about world affairs are being remade as I speak to you. Every country, every business is realizing that the world economy in which they are groping their way to a future is in the process of a fundamental change, and the BRICS is the absolute core of that. The BRICS together now account for about 35% of the world's total output of goods and services. 35% of the aggregate GDP of this planet.
And that figure may edge higher. Indonesia's flirting with membership, Nigeria's expressed interest, and, remarkably, Mexico's observer seat hints at North America's first real hedge against a dollar-centric system. If those bids solidify, we're talking closer to 40% of world output under the BRICS Plus umbrella.
The G7, that's the United States and its 6 major allies, Canada, Japan, Britain, France, Germany, and Italy, only account for 27, 28%. So the BRICS are already a bigger, richer, wealthier part of the world economy. That's why every company has to rethink its strategy. You can't focus on the G7, which for many of them was what they did kind of automatically for the last 75 years. That's not happening anymore.
That right there is the turning point. For decades, the G7 felt like the default engine of growth. Now it feels like a legacy institution. When trade delegations prioritize Delhi or Sao Paulo over New York, it tells you not just what's changed, but what's next.
If you send a trade delegation to Washington and New York, which many of them do still, as soon as they're finished in Washington and New York, they go to New Delhi or Beijing or Sao Paulo in Brazil, and they present the same project. And they say, who can help us more? And the BRICS have gone out of their way, as I'm sure they will in the future, to carve their place in the world economy. And they know that the way to do that is to offer a better deal than you can get in the West. They're not stupid. They know the game. It's just like if a new brand of soda pop is available in your neighborhood, it might offer a cheaper can or a cheaper bottle than the traditional soda pop in order to get you to try it, in order to get you to see that it's good, etc., etc. That's what's going on. Conventional marketing, if you like. But it's now clear that the world is never going to be what it was in the last 75 years. Peculiarly, oddly, anomalously in the history of the world economy, dominated by one country. Even the British, in the era of the British Empire.
Empires rarely recognize the tipping point until the postcard arrives. The British got theirs at Suez in 56. Historians may mark today's equivalent in currency swap lines rather than gunboats. Technology compresses these cycles. Power erodes faster because information and capital move in microseconds.
Before the American Empire didn't have the kind of control, never had the 800 military bases that the United States maintained, etc. So in a way, the United States peaked, its empire peaked, and it is now being challenged by somebody who has already surpassed the United States in number of ways. Militarily, you can see it in Ukraine. Economically, you can see it in China. Technologically, You can see that in China too. And I could go on. But that's my point. Pay attention to the BRICS. Don't dismiss them the way Mr. Trump does. That looks like ignorant behavior of someone who wants to bully his way through by pretending none of this is all that important and threatening the BRICS, which Mr. Trump also did. He indeed threatened countries that, quote, align themselves with the BRICS, whatever exactly that means, might be subject to tariffs or who knows what else. Let me conclude by bringing this all home a little closer. I believe for the first time, the meeting of the BRICS in Rio de Janeiro had as one of its participants, I don't think they had the right to vote as full members did, but they were there and welcomed to participate in all the discussions, was the country called Mexico. The chickens are coming home to roost, and we all better pay attention because it's going to affect everything.
Professor Wolff is right. Whether you're a small exporter in Ohio or a policymaker in Delhi, the chessboard has changed. Over the next decade, supply chains, lending rates, even the apps we use to wire money could be running through a BRICS-aligned pipeline. For investors, that means new hedges. For diplomats, new fault lines. For everyday citizens, a new mix of opportunity and uncertainty. The key is to stay informed, resist the easy headline, and remember that in geopolitics, as in markets, dominance isn't a forever condition. It's a trend line, and trend lines, as we know, can and do break.